YouTube? Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast Talking Auburn Football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Now, all of you all know that Auburn is on a search for a head football coach. Let's rewind this thing back. Auburn fired Gus Malzahn just days before the early signing period. And all of a sudden, Auburn is in the midst of not only a football coach, but also trying to solidify a already shaky recruiting class, and with the prospect of the bowl game that has been solidified, as Auburn will compete against Northwestern out of the Big Ten Conference January 1st in the Citrus Bowl. There were some candidates that was kind of floating around out there. You got your Kevin Steels, you got your Bill Clarks, you got your even Steve Sarkisian, who's had a great deal of success in his first year as an offensive coordinator. Well, full first year as an offensive coordinator at Alabama. These guys are breaking records. They've had a great game, obviously, in the SEC championship game. Steve Sarkisian was thought to be a high-profile candidate to take over for Auburn in replacement of Gus Malzahn. Now, the more unpopular candidate was Kevin Steele. Kevin Steele was actually a leading candidate, say, a couple of days ago, and the Auburn fan base was like livid about this, saying no. I think there was like this hashtag going on Twitter, basically saying no to the prospect of Kevin Steele being the replacement. And apparently that thing has kind of caught some steam because there have been some new candidates that have emerged to the top. Now, the big buzz was obviously Sarkisian. People thought, well, Auburn has had some offensive struggles. See, the main thing is this. Auburn has been at least sound on defense, but the offense has basically been abysmal for the last seasons that we can document. It's been very inconsistent. It has been very shaky. Play calling has been abysmal. So they're like, hey, we want to get some offense going on at Auburn and at least get a sound level of football back at Auburn, or just get some a sound level of production at Auburn when it comes to that. So stories have come out that there has been a divide between the offense and the defense at Auburn. There's been some talks that Kevin Steele and Rodney Garner really didn't approve or didn't like what Gus Malzahn was doing at Auburn. They were talking about some old backdoor action. I don't necessarily buy into that, but there was clear perception that this was a divided team. Very good on defense, not so good on offense. And there was even some sabotage talk to where Kevin Steele was trying to sabotage Gus Malzahn. I don't know all the way if that was the case, but there was some apparent division in Auburn, especially after the 2015 season. It just didn't look right. You talk about I'm not going to say a high tier team in Auburn, but there was it just didn't look right. When you look at the team, you look at guys playing with a high level of intensity on defense, and then you look at the offensive side of the field, and it looked like total chaos. Gus Malzahn, during his tenure, from what we can see and from what the results would produce, never really trusted his offensive coordinator or his offensive staff to make it happen, because he would give them the reins for a few games or for a few plays, and then all of a sudden he will step in. If we look at back in 2019, after Chip Lindsey left to go to Troy, you look at Gus Malzahn and say, hey, I'm going to go back to play calling. I'm going to go back to what I know. I'm going to go back to what I do. And that was kind of a flop in a way. He decided to go with true freshman quarterback Bo Nix, who in spots looked like the guy. But you have, guys that transferred out. And then you have this quarterback battle. Well, Malik Willis transferred out. See, here's what I think. And it goes back to roster management. Malik Willis, the veteran guy, athletic, not necessarily a duplicate of Nick Marshall. Has the talent that he has. As the veteran quarterback on this team at the time, if you're managing your roster properly, you have a situation to where, okay, let's make Malik Willis the starter and let's make it his job to lose. But no, Gus Malzahn completely rolled the dice, and it wound up being the demise of his career. He puts Bo Nix in. Bo Nix struggled epically in the first 2 years as a quarterback at Auburn. Technique issues, overthrows, interceptions, came up big in the Alabama game, which led a lot to believe that he was the solid guy that would lead Auburn to the promised land. But fast forward to 2020, he's having the same struggles, which gives the perceptive indication that Bo Nix might have been a bad choice at the time. A lot of folks say, well, he chose Bo Nix because of his father's legacy at Auburn. But I look at that and it's like, I'm looking at Patrick Nix, the father of Bo Nix, that he's sitting in the same. It's not like Patrick Nix was sitting in the club seats. Patrick Nix was sitting out there with the rest of the parents. So I don't get where this push from a political standpoint to start Bo Nix. Bo Nix, obviously a 5-star quarterback, has a lot of talent in a lot of areas, but his techniques have been absolutely abysmal at times, especially with setting his feet and throwing the football. I think he's an incredible athlete, and with the right set of coaching, and that's where I segue into Billy Napier, who appears to be, at this time, the leading candidate for Auburn going into this coaching search. Now, a lot of y'all may say, well, who the hell is Billy Napier? Billy Napier, his government name is William Hall Napier, and he's out of Cookeville. He's born in Cookeville, Tennessee. One thing about it, he's a young guy, but also he's a young guy that has had the experience with high tier programs in recent times with college football. He served on the Clemson staff. He probably, I will say this, his most notable experience is as a wide receiver coach at Alabama between 2013 and 2016. And as we all know, Alabama had a lot of good receivers that came through during that time. He took the head coaching position at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns. And one of the things that tells me is that he desires to be a head football coach. He doesn't have a sketchy background. He doesn't have a lot of crazy stuff going on. He's not a drunk. He doesn't, solicit strippers. All of this other stuff. Appears to be a solid candidate. What does Auburn need at this time? Auburn needs some stability. Auburn needs solidification on both sides of the football field, reacting coherently together. Now, in my comment section, a lot of folks will say, well, why didn't Chad Morris consult with Kevin Steele as to whether this scheme or this concept will work? Maybe the reason why they didn't do it is because there was no coherency. It was Auburn's offense. It was Auburn's defense. It wasn't a team effort from what it seemed like. It wasn't a situation where, okay, we know where our defense is, so we need to manage the offense based on where our defense. No, it wasn't none of that. It was still the screen passes on first and second down, not converting on first, putting your defense that is very inexperienced because of injury, because of COVID-19. It was just a poorly managed situation. But Billy Napier, I'm not going to say that he is the guy. I'm not going to say that because I can't, from my trajectory, say that. But based on what I see as far as his credentials, he could be the prototype of coach that could lead Auburn to a different level, at least a sound level to compete and to give Auburn a sizable opportunity to be more competitive against their rivals. Auburn is 0-12 against their rivals on the road. Maybe a guy like Billy Napier, Bill Clark, that has a more sensible approach to coaching football can give Auburn that chance. All right, guys, that's my time here. I might even do a call-in live stream tonight, maybe talking about this a little bit, but it's really intriguing, especially after I dug and kind of researched Billy Napier. This might not be a bad choice for the Tigers moving forward. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Might not be right, but I'm always here. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.